China and Russia have been the world's biggest antagonists for the past few years. Now, as Russia invades Ukraine and China supports it, the two big bullies are clearly trying to take over the yard. But they hadn't considered one thing: the brave, geeky kid who stands up for everybody, Elon Musk. The Tesla CEO has never shied away from a war of words. The question is, how does he respond to real war, with real human lives on the line? In an interview with Matthias Döpfner, CEO of Insider's parent company Axel Springer, Elon had a few things to say about the ongoing war. When he was asked whether there would be a potential threat if Starlink satellites were targeted by Russia and China, Elon said, "It was interesting to view the Russia anti-satellite demonstration a few months ago in the context of this conflict. It caused a lot of strife for satellite operators. It even posed some danger for the space station, where there are Russian cosmonauts. It was previously reported Starlink's satellite system is helping an elite Ukrainian drone unit destroy Russian weaponry. The system ensures drone teams can work even if there are internet or power outages. However, Elon warned Starlink users in Ukraine that they should turn to the system only when needed, as they may be targeted in the ongoing war. According to Elon, it would be challenging to take out the satellites. If you attempt to take out Starlink, it is not easy because there are 2,000 satellites," he said. "That means a lot of anti-satellite missiles. I hope we do not have to put this to a test, but I think we can launch satellites faster than they can launch anti-satellite missiles," the SpaceX CEO added. Drones used in the field are able to use Starlink to keep connected and provide intelligence with the internet and power outages plaguing Ukraine. With the technology, the drones can be directed to drop anti-tank munitions to help ward off Russian attackers. According to reports, the Starlink service helped the Ukrainian forces launch a guided anti-warship missile, which led to the sinking of Moskva, which is a major Russian warship and thus delivering a huge blow to the country in the midst of the war. Dmitry Medvedev, who's the current deputy chairman of the Security Council of Russia, has reportedly ordered the destruction of the Starlink satellites, which are floating over the Russian Federation territory, seemingly waging space war on the Elon Musk-owned satellite. According to media reports, Medvedev also said that Russia has no intention of militarizing outer space, but it will prevent other countries and organizations from doing so. However, Elon's dominance in space is just beginning, and his satellite constellation is steadily growing larger. A few weeks ago, a further 53 Starlink internet satellites were launched into space from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, further boosting the growing satellite network. SpaceX said that their Falcon 9 launched the satellites into low orbit without any issues. The Ukrainians are also enlisting the help of PD-1 unmanned aerial vehicles fitted with infrared sensors. With a wingspan of 10 feet, the vehicles are being used to collect vital information on the movements of Russian troops. The Ukrainian drone unit also uses a Delta system, which has been perfected in recent years with the help of Western advisors. It can be accessed by basic laptops and has a situational awareness software installed, which creates an interactive map using images from drones, satellites, human intelligence, and sensors to build a physical picture that helps in tracking the enemy. The system, which is said to be on par with similar NATO technology, is believed to have been tested in the Seabreeze military exercise held in the Black Sea in 2021, which involved the USA, Ukraine, and 30 other countries. Starlink, however, uses terminals that resemble TV dishes equipped with antennas that have so far addressed those concerns, with the satellites themselves mounted on roofs to allow Ukraine citizens to access the internet via satellite in rural or disconnected areas. It is now the most popular app in Ukraine, with more than 100,000 downloads in the few weeks since it went live. Ukraine has so far received thousands of antennas from Elon's companies and European allies. In a recent interview, the country's Minister of Digital Information, Mikhailo Fedorov, has said that the tech has already proven very effective. "The quality of the link is excellent," Fedorov told the Washington Post from an undisclosed location in the country. The remote interview itself was made possible by a Starlink connection. "We are using thousands of terminals with new shipments arriving every other day," the minister revealed, speaking on how the satellites have proved instrumental in helping citizens and leaders communicate as the Kremlin continues its large-scale attacks in the cities across Ukraine. Over 2,000 satellites have been sent to space so far, and there are plans to launch around 12,000 in total. The usefulness of the system has transcended into military operations, with the Ukrainian drone armies of Aurora Zvidka being able to continue communicating with their bases via Starlink terminals and ground stations in neighboring countries, including Poland. The Aurora Zvidka unit was formed by a group of civilian model airplane enthusiasts and those with a background in engineering in 2014, following the outbreak of war in eastern Ukraine. The group helped build drones and sensors for the military to monitor the border, and helped adapt commercially available drones to gather intelligence and even drop homemade explosives. Eventually, the unit was integrated into the Ukrainian armed forces. It is actually proving so effective that the US feels supplying the Ukrainians with aircraft is unnecessary, and has instead opted to send Switchblades. Known as kamikaze drones, Switchblades were initially designed for US Special Forces and are capable of taking down tanks. General James Dickinson, commander of US Space Command, told the Senate Armed Services Committee, "What we're seeing with Elon Musk and the Starlink capabilities is really showing us what a mega constellation or a proliferated architecture can provide in terms of redundancy and capability." Despite all the help it's given so far, the US has remained adamant about not deploying troops into Ukraine out of fears for its own national security, or as Biden would put it, to avoid a possible World War III. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki reiterated Tuesday that the administration does not and will not support Zelensky's no-fly zone request for those reasons. "We have the responsibility to assess what the impact is on the United States and our own national security," the White House spokesperson said. Experts say that the use of Starlink as a method for citizens and the government to stay connected during the invasion serves as a major test for the relatively new technology, and could have lasting implications for the future of conflict. Aside from powering weapons and aiding the military, Elon's satellites have so far allowed citizens to stay informed against an enemy known for its misinformation efforts. The US is said to have spent millions of dollars on the system to protect against Russian hacking. Over the past week, the US has contributed roughly $1 billion in new assistance to Ukraine. US President Joe Biden detailed how much military aid the US is already providing and will continue to provide to Ukraine after President Zelensky recorded a heartfelt plea for aid from the superpower. In the remotely held address to the US Senate, Zelensky urged Americans to remember Pearl Harbor and the 9/11 attacks when looking at the recent events in Ukraine, and firmly asked the president by name in English to step in. Biden recently called Zelensky's speech convincing and significant, as he announced an additional $800 million in military assistance on top of a constantly growing $13.6 billion aid package for the country. The spending bill, which was already signed into law, includes weapons needed by Ukrainian forces to put an end to the Russian attacks, such as anti-armor and anti-air systems. Speaking from the White House, Biden said the new package will consist of 9,000 anti-armor systems, 7,000 small arms, 800 Stinger anti-aircraft systems, 20 million rounds of ammunition, and 100 drones, so Ukrainians can continue to defend their space. During the speech, Biden said that the US is fully committed to getting those weapons to Ukraine in the coming days. With that said, there are still fears that the system could be impacted by internet disruption, as Russia continues its EW assault, leading to power outages and internet connectivity issues. According to Britain's Ministry of Defense, Moscow could now be targeting Ukraine's communications infrastructure. On top of repeated attempts by Putin's forces to disconnect Ukrainians from the web, Russia has also threatened its own independent journalists with jail time if they report fake news about the war. The propaganda machine is well and truly in full swing. We can only hope that Ukraine will hold out the Russian threat and reclaim its freedom. Until next time, welcome to the future.